I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
my head up.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just...
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Moss?
Oh, my heart.
Happy 20th anniversary.
My heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Doni.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself.
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
Letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I'm just glad to be among the living one more day. What's the day? March the 21st. Wow. And we are, shucks, under March, April, May, under 2 months. Under 2 months. In under 2 months, we'll have a mayoral election here in the city of Baltimore. And it's going to be a very interesting race as I think about it. I mean, I've gotten so many questions. Doni, who do you like? Who do you support? Well, I've tried my best to stay out of this election, but the more I sit on the sideline, the more I'm just annoyed at just this whole mess. Baltimore. What's wrong with my city? Got money, we're not spending it where we could spend it. What's wrong, Baltimore? Don't you want to look out for the people? And then here's something. I wrestle with it all the time. And let it be known, I am no fan of Donald John Trump at all. I love business, but just because I love business doesn't mean that I would support that person for anything, not even for dog catcher. He's a traitor. He caused an insurrection. 5 people were killed. And anybody in denial about that, that's your problem. I'm not supposed to like, I'm damn sure not supposed to like someone that stirs the pot of racism in America. Who does that? What are you trying to do? Start a race war, Donald Trump? But it's not Trump that leaves me baffled. It's the people who support Trump, including black people. What the hell are you thinking? White people who vote against their own interests. How you let somebody tell you what to do with your body? How you gonna tell a woman what to do with her body? Man, where the women at? I hope y'all don't vote for this fool. So then here in the city of Baltimore, you know, it's hard to ignore what we've been seeing. Can't get basic services sometimes. I look at Monroe Street. Monroe Street looks like a damn bomb went off. Monroe Street. Can't even leave the city. Come back in off 295, want to come up Monroe Street. It's like a damn obstacle course. Am I the only one that sees it? I mean, damn, when's the last time you got a truck with some asphalt and you just came up and smoothed the damn thing out? You collecting ticket money. So it's like, well, damn, we can't even cover the basics. Remember that commercial when we were kids? You can't even keep your room clean. Remember that commercial? Some of y'all might be too young to remember. If there was a commercial that came on and the young man was apparently getting sexually active, and his mother, in her infinite wisdom, inferred, how can you raise a baby? How can you bring a baby in this world when you can't even keep your room clean? We have some serious questions that we'll need to ask ourselves in the upcoming weeks here in the city of Baltimore. And the first one is, do we continue with insanity? Do we continue with insanity? Was it PM Smith who said it? It's like Baltimore is like a city where the kids had the keys to the car and they driving fast and they don't know a cliff is up ahead. And if we don't either take the key out of the ignition or change drivers, we all going over the cliff. Now, I will say, I am glad about some things. I'm all for change. I'm all for passing the ball. What I'm not for is foolishness. And I don't care how old you are. 8 to 80, blind, cripple, or crazy. We ain't for no foolishness. But let me get somebody who knows politics a little better than me. My fellow Dunbar poet. Get hot!
Hey, carry on.
You know, I wrote this book in part because of you. You told me about James Fortin. I Am Black Wall Street. You told me about James Fortin. Donnie, do you know about James Fortin? Well, I know now. He was a patriot. He fought in that was the Revolutionary War.
He was captured at 15 years of age.
He was captured and he was a loyalist. He became friends to one of the British captors' sons, correct?
Right. And the British captain wanted to send him to England to go to school with his son because he was so young to be a soldier or warrior. And James Fortin declined the offer and stated emphatically that he was a patriot and he would stay with his comrades in prison. And then he ended up becoming an apprentice sailmaker and then becoming one of the wealthiest men in Philadelphia, which meant he was one of the wealthiest in the country, and financed the libraries, the civic buildings, the Underground Railroad, everything up there. And finally, in 2014, Philadelphia paid tribute to him. 2014, from 1781 all the way up to this particular poem, they finally paid tribute to him. But we have nothing but great people in our history. One of the things we did this year for Black History Month and focusing on some of our female warriors. There's two in particular. One was Sarah Keys. Sarah Keys, while on furlough in 1952, on her way home to North Carolina, she was told to get up out of her seat and give it to that white Marine. She refused and ended up locked up in jail. Coming to her aid was an attorney by the name of Dovey Johnson Roundtree. Okay, Dovey had been a captain in World War II, but then went on to law school at Howard University afterwards, and she took the case to the ICC, and she won the case. Now, this was 3 years before Rosa Parks, okay? And so those two female warriors, we cited them in our Black History Month journal. I'll have to send that to you, Donnie, because there are so many stories about Black women in particular that need to be told, and they're never told. because in the forefront of all of our struggle was always black women. Now, whether they were behind the scenes supporting a black male as a Coretta Scott King and many other women were, or in the churches, because in the churches, man, the women are the ones who raised all the money. They keep the church going.
They say a woman was the first one that realized that Jesus had resurrected.
Yes, indeed. Women have always been in the forefront, but they've never been given their just due. And so one of the things we do in the Black veterans movement, well, because it's always been a male-dominated world, because we look at the world through the European lens. And when you look at the world through the European lens, you don't see all the great women. Now, in our history, before the Europeans conquered us and began to determine what eyes we would view the world through, women like Queen and Zinger.
We conquered? Yeah, I don't know that I like that categorization. I'm conquered.
Yes, we were conquered. And now we're trying to be free.
Am I still conquered?
While our minds are shackled. Because look, we've been forced
I don't like this.
Right, look, we've been forced to view the world through the lens of our European conquerors, man. And this is why we don't see our own beauty. For example,
I can't call them my conqueror.
Mm-hmm.
They won that fight. They ain't winning now.
No. They may have conquered us, but they did not own us. You see, and that's the problem. See, our problem has been that we've been viewing the world through his eyes as opposed to our eyes. For instance, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. When we say in the Black veterans movement that we built America, okay, we mean that not only literally, but we mean that in fact. For instance, we have defended this nation since before that place was called Negro Mountain up there all the way up. But we have been written out of the history books, okay? But there's no question about us in defending this nation, all right? If you're talking about STEM, science and technology, from Benjamin Banneker to George Washington Carver, in between, and then Vivian Thomas and all these others, we have been the ones who brought science and technology to this country, okay? So we built that piece of it because the white folks didn't do no work, so they didn't know how to do nothing. Okay, if you're talking about culture, even country and Western music, everything that they hold dear came from who? Came from us. If you're talking about democracy, which they claim, we're the greatest democracy on the face, who made a democracy? Who were the ones fighting for everybody to have equal rights and equal opportunity? We built this country, man. But see, what happens is they keep us focused on slavery, and we don't see our beauty and our ingenuity over the years. For instance, how many of our people, when I was in school at Morgan, I had this one professor, Howard Bell. Howard Bell got his wrote his doctoral thesis on Black nationalism between 1820 and 1850. Now, whenever we look at 1820 to 1850, we're always talking about slavery. We're not talking about Black nationalism.
Historically, however, there was so much more going on. And let's clarify.
Yeah.
Not all Blacks were enslaved.
That's right.
Not all whites were free.
That's right. That's right.
What was going on between 1820?
During that particular time, even during slavery, we were building America, man. I'm telling you, we built this damn country. We should claim it and own it. It's ours. Okay.
We trying to, but you got this cat with the helicopter hairdo that keeps getting in the damn way, along with 150 million of his followers.
That's right. Because look, as long as they keep us viewing ourselves as victims, we will end up with a victim mentality, right? But we may have been victimized, but hell, we still the best that this country has ever produced. What other group can claim all the things I just talked about? There's
Not
no other
only
group,
that,
there's no other group in this country that has done more to build this country, to maintain it, defend it, or whatever than black people, man. We built this damn country and
and
it's
we look
out.
good, and we look good doing it.
Yes, sir. so one of
But
the
you know,
things,
the challenge we have nowadays is, especially in the news business, you know, I'm finishing my master's at Morgan in journalism.
perfect, perfect, perfect.
That's why we have this news outlet, because in a 63% black city, I am one who is of the belief that we should be telling our own story.
Unapologetically black.
We
My
should not be allowing Fox
yes, sir.
News to tell the storyline on our community, because
Mhm.
they don't love our community.
That's right. That's right.
We
And
have
see, one of
beautiful
the things
people.
we have to do, we have to get to know who we really are and stop looking at the world through somebody else's lens. You see, because they determine or dictate what our dialogue is. And what I'm saying is that we have to change our dialogue. But we can't change our dialogue unless we know our history. So when we look at things like some people are now looking at the 6888, you know, those black ladies and all that they did, man, we've been talking about them for over 50 years. Black folks never wanted to hear it until white folks validated the discussion on them. I can tell you some things that have occurred in my lifetime because, you know, I've always extolled the virtues of black history or what have you. But, you know, there were people who put you down because you are telling our story, because they would say, oh, there he go again. Always just black, black this and black. Yes, yes, that's all I know.
That's
That's
right.
all I know. That's who I am. And I'm not going to walk away or duck the fact that I am of African heritage, and I'm going to love our story, and I'm going to continue to tell our story, and I'm going to tell the story of how we enabled this country to get over.
Let me just
Okay?
jump in. What was your mama's name?
Lola Mae Davis.
My mama's name was Lily Juanita Glover. Now that we got that out the way, tell me about our mentor Ross, aka Harriet Tubman. We talking about women's history.
Oh
Please
man.
tell me something about that Marylander
Oh
from
man.
Maryland.
Not only Harriet Tubman, man. I'm thinking of my girl right now. When you mentioned Harriet Tubman, you know, on March 11th, a young lady by the name of Dory Ladner, Ladner. She was 81 years old. We same age. She passed away in D.C. She had been born in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And from the time she was a little girl on up, you know, teenager on up, she struggled, challenging the white power structure and the system. And ultimately, you know, she worked on what I remember her from was the Mississippi voter registration campaign back in '64 and '65. You know, with
Oh,
the Mississippi
that was
Freedom
Fannie Lou
Democratic
Hamer's
Party.
people.
Yeah. Now she passed away. They haven't had a funeral yet, but they're supposed to have a memorial service for her sometime soon. She passed away over in D.C. She would go back, but when I think of Harriet Tubman, I think of all of the Harriet Tubmans who are out here, many of whom are standing right before us, and we don't even see them. You know, I think of some others like I don't know whether you know Dr. Walter Gill, Wally Gill. You know, his dad was Dr. Robert Gill, the political science professor at Morgan. But his mother's name was Ruby Gill. You know, they come from one of them proud old line Republican families. Ruby Gill under McKeldin, when he was governor, and then when he was mayor, she was one of the first persons he always appointed to the recreation boards and things of this nature. So when she was a lone female and black into these various positions on commissions and boards, she was standing tall fighting for us, man. I used to watch her in the 60s, how she stood up and fought for us when nobody even knew she was fighting for us. Oh, I think of like Dr. Gill, you know, he's a Republican, but, you know, he was always one of them old line Republicans because, you know, that's who our people were, stood up and fought for us. I think of all those organizations like the Elks, who had the female component of it. They're called Daughters in Elkdom. How in 1928 they became the backbone for the organization of the Civil Liberties League inside of Elkdom. Now, the Civil Liberties League is the one that raised all of that monies to fight for, you know, constitutional rights, and they helped to finance Thurgood Marshall. Okay, I look at all those women, man, and what they did, and you know, these things were not known widely. I think of all that they did in the forefront to provide educational opportunities. Somebody just did a paper on, you know, Black organizations and education, how the Masons and all of these groups were grounded in providing educational opportunities for young Black people. We don't have that today.
Tell me about that Dunbar principal who was there when I first went there in 1981, named Julia B.
Julia Woolard. Julia Woolard. Oh man, you went there. You know, my oldest son graduated in 77, man.
Tell me about Julia B. What did I experience with that 1 year that I was under her tutelage?
Oh man, listen, she would not allow you to view yourself as a second-class citizen or a second-rated person. You had to elevate yourself to the maximum of your human potential.
My friends at Poly, look, they were saying you going to They said I was going to Dunbar.
Dunbar, yeah. That they still you say Dunbar. They can't seem to say Dunbar.
But they didn't understand who came out of Dunbar.
No. Look, let me run something to you, man. Even the kids who go to Dunbar now, I talk to them. I say, look, do you know who we are as poets? I say, we've been the trailblazers. I know they talk about Thurgood Marshall, Douglas High School, and Parham Mitchell and all them. But who was the first Black female to break that color line at the University of Maryland Nursing School? Esther McCready. She was one of our valedictorians out of Dunbar. Who was the first Black female to break that color line at the University of Maryland School of Medicine? Dr. Lois Young, another one of the valedictorians at Dunbar. Who built Morgan's art department and museum? James Lewis, Professor James Lewis, who graduated from Dunbar High School in 1943, but there was no art school for him to go to, so he went to Philadelphia. He ended up becoming one of the first Black Marines, or Montfort Point Marine. And then when he came home after World War II, he went back to school, finished his degree in art, and then Dr. Jenkins recruited him to come to Morgan. And he stayed at Morgan for 40-something years. And at Morgan, he not only built the art department at Morgan, but he built that museum at Morgan. And on his many trips to Africa, he brought back all of those artifacts and artistic pieces from Africa for Morgan's museum. That's a Dunbar High School boy who went to Faith Baptist Church, man. If you look at some of the great educators at Morgan, Haywood Harrison, he may have been gone when you got there, Dr. Haywood Harrison. Okay, he and Dr. Clara Adams. Clara Adams was vice president when you was there, probably. Both of them are graduates of Dunbar High School, both of whom were two of the leading educators who headed the academics at Morgan. And the big issue about those two was which one was the brightest. You know, both of them, neither one of them ever made less than an A in anything. Now, I don't know how that's possible because neither one of them was athletic. So I don't know how they made A's in physical education. I guess that
They did some athletes' homework, maybe. I don't know.
But we have all of these great people. Who was the first black from Baltimore to graduate from the Naval Academy? Robert Fig Newton, the class of 59, 58 at Dunbar. You know, I could go on and on. Who were the founders of the Black Pilots Association for this country? Two guys from Dunbar, okay? James
Riley, are you hearing this?
James Betts was one, and the other one was Boone, Frederick Boone. They both became pilots in the early 60s. And then they turned around and organized the Black Pilots Association and began to promote aviation throughout the country. Okay, now, James Betts was the first black pilot in the Maryland National Guard. He was the class of 56 at Dunbar. Frederick Boone was the class, I think he was February 58, you know, at Dunbar High School. Okay, now look, let me take you a step further and to show you the connection, okay? Take a guy like James Norfleet, Norfleet. You will know him by his first major patent, which was Ultra Bright toothpaste, right? And Peroxide. These were his first major patents. When he retired in 2006, he was vice president of Colgate-Palmolive Oral Division, and he was in charge of all the scientists worldwide for Colgate-Palmolive Oral Division. He was the February class of 1958 at Dunbar. He had been inspired to go to pharmaceutical school while working as a stock boy in a pharmacy. And the guy by the name of Cooper, Reginald Francis Lewis's uncle, Reggie's mother's oldest brother, we call him young Cooper. He encouraged Norfleet to go to pharmaceutical school because he had come home from World War II and went to pharmaceutical school, but he knew that there were no opportunities at this point, but that there would be those opportunities in the future. Norfleet listened and went to University of Maryland School of Pharmacy, but the racism and the high cost of education for him at University of Maryland dictated that he had to leave school. He went into the military, came out, and then he went on to Morgan. And in 1967, he graduated from Morgan with a bachelor's degree in applied science, and he was hired by Colgate-Palmolive Oral Division. This began an illustrious career where he holds over 18 patents worldwide, then sat on the dental boards of schools like the University of Pennsylvania or what have you. But whenever you hear the term Ultra Bright toothpaste, remember, that's a young lad from Dunbar who owns that patent for Ultra Bright toothpaste and Peroxide. But see, these are the things about Dunbar High School that even the young people at Dunbar have no knowledge of, and they really don't have a feel or sense for the need to know all of these things, because many of the people who are teaching them at Dunbar or the leadership at Dunbar does not know these things. If you had a Julia Woodland around, then they would have access to all of that information. But because they don't have those kinds of people around, or a Senator Clarence Blount, you know, these people knew about all of these things. Okay. And the beauty of all of this is Norfleet would come back and help out and motivating our students. He motivated kids from California to the East Coast and then overseas to go into the field of pharmacy and research. I am so proud of Northfleet. He's still alive now.
Wow, I got to get an interview with him, but I got to bring this full circle. I got to jump in.
Bring it full circle, man.
I know you're a soldier and you like running things. I get that. I know you're still a delegate in my world, and I know you know all about this Maryland General Assembly. So I got to ask you some critical questions in this second half and final half of this interview. Number one, we have an election coming up in under 2 months. I want you to just ponder that. You don't have to answer just now because I just want to set the table.
You can set
four leaders out there. There's Brandon. Polls suggest Sheila has an advantage. I don't know how that can be when you have an incumbent, but nonetheless, that's what Fox is pushing out there. And some people in the streets, a lot of people in the streets are just not pleased. Then you have this first black governor in the state of Maryland. And let me just say, because I saw him for his Black History Month program, and there are those who think that I might be critical of him and whomever else. It's my job to ask questions. My daddy says, son, you got to ask the tough questions. And I will. I do. I don't have a problem with it. And if your skin is that thin, you shouldn't be in politics. But can you at least give us an overview of what we will be faced with? I mean, we're in the middle. We're in the second half of this year's Maryland General Assembly. We got a black governor, a black attorney general, a black treasurer. We have a black speaker of the House. You don't have the bullies in Mike Miller. You don't have a Mike Bush. We are free to roam about the country. We have a black mayor, a black city council president, a black comptroller, a black state's attorney. I've set the table, and I defer to you, the gentleman from East Baltimore.
Okay. Well, let me start by saying this. When you're elected to positions like the governor of the state of Maryland, that's who you are. You're the governor of the state of Maryland. You're not the governor of black people. But it's kind of like this. You know, when we studied politics, you know, those who in politics will not allow others or outsiders to get in, right? Well, once you're in, you've got to be able to effectively utilize power to benefit your constituents, okay? Now, you might not be able to do all the things that your constituents want because, after all, you're the governor of the entire state, and that's one of the things we have to understand, too, and that he's not like a black governor. He's the governor of Maryland, right? But like all other groups, when Mimi DePietro was in, you know, the Italians got their streets paved, right? Or they got those recreation funds set to their community. We expect the same thing.
You damn right.
We expect the same thing.
You damn right.
And you can provide those same things and still be governor of Maryland or mayor of Baltimore City. But we do expect those things because, look, we're the ones who put you in office, and we're the ones who should be first to drink from the trough. Okay, it has always been that way in politics, and once we get in, there ain't no such thing as, well, we're gonna try to be fair. And no. Look, we won. To the victor go the spoils. You know, that's the way it has always been in politics. Now, we're not going to exclude anybody, but we worked hard to get our folks in office, and we expect them to respond to what our needs are.
So should I feel a certain kind of way when I see that the recreation center at 24th and Greenmount has never been rebuilt? Should I feel a certain way when the children over there on Whitelock and Brookfield can't play basketball in John Eager Howard because there is no John Eager Howard? They done replaced it. And this new structure does not allow the children from the neighborhood, or Easterwood Park over there named after your former colleague, former state senator who's now gone, Troy Braley. When is that going to be rebuilt? When I look at $15 billion that has come through the Maryland Stadium Authority. And I see a new football stadium, a new baseball stadium, but I see my schools are closed in the warmer months because it's too cold, or they closed in the, and you know, they don't have heat, they don't have air. But you got $15 billion in a new stadium that's about to get renovated. I have a problem with the Democrats in Maryland. I do.
Well, look, here's the thing you've got to look at. Now, look, there was over $1 billion a couple of years ago appropriated for the rebuilding of our schools or the renovation of our schools. Now, that process has already begun because I know Montebello up here, you know, that school was shut down and the school was totally rebuilt. They are doing that. Now, whether it's going to happen overnight in all the schools, it cannot happen overnight.
I'm not seeing it in East Baltimore and West Baltimore. I'm talking about East Side, West Side. Montebello, all of these suburban periphery. I'm talking about the hood that makes it on Fox News every night.
Well, what I'm saying to you, you know, you're right for raising the question, okay? You're right for raising a question, but somebody needs to give you an answer, somebody in the power structure, okay? Now, I can give you my view of it, okay? And my view of it is that I watch the money and I've seen what has been happening. You know, it's not happening fast enough. And perhaps
them damn bike lanes happen. Them bike lanes are every damn way, and I ain't asked for nail one of them.
You right about the bike lanes, boy. Look, they're paying in the ass.
Damn flex post is so far in the middle of the street. You damn near in the other lane trying to get around this damn flex post.
Yeah, you know, big waste of money. Then
I ain't seen that summer gun on a bike.
Paint the streets. I wonder who got them contracts for that, man. But look. Here's some of the things that we need to also be looking at, okay? We need to begin to look at our public school system and the economic.
You did look at it. Did look at it.
Let me finish now. And the economics surrounding that. Who has the contract to provide toilet paper for the public school system? Whomever has it becomes a millionaire, right?
But ain't no damn toilet paper in the schools. Wasn't none.
Wait a minute. Whomever provides just the paper towels, who provide the technology, or who provides the insurance for our school teachers? You know, these are things that we need to begin to look at the total system, because when you look at a guy like Frank, what was his name now? Frank, used to be the senator, not Gallagher, but you'll know who I'm talking about. He was on the board at University of Maryland. He was an insurance broker, and he got all of the contracts for the insurance at University of Maryland when Kathy Pugh went to jail for just them little books. But yet Frank, and I don't mean, because he was a decent guy, okay? And I don't knock him for getting those contracts. But who are getting all these contracts for providing these services? This is part of the economic development. This is why somebody else wants to control our school system. This is why somebody else wants to control all of the key components of this city that lets contracts. This is why they want to control the Department of Public Works. And
is Martin O'Malley's hand involved in Maryland politics?
I think he still has a presence there, because a lot of the people that he brought into government are still probably there, because you know, all you have to do is see how many contracts the Irish are getting. You know, see, this is what I loved about Dew Burns. Okay, I'm gonna get back to my man Dew. See, Dew was a politician that we needed in office when Kurt Smoke was elected, because see, Dew didn't know anything else but the fact that when the Italians were in office, Italians got contracts. When the Irish were in control, the Irish got contracts. When our time came, with Du Burns, we began to talk about good government, and we wanted to change the system. No, we want to keep the system the same. You know, now that here, and just like with Marion Barry, this is why they
that's what I'm talking about.
This
Now
is why they hated Marion Barry.
Now you
when
talking.
Marion Barry came in, whoever got the contracts for paving the city streets of D.C. went to black folks. All those construction projects went to black folks. Well, this is where Du Burns was. Du understood that, okay, because this is all he knew. And he said, you know, it's our time now. But then there were those who understood that. But then we were more concerned with cosmetics, or someone who used the English properly, or whatever.
You know, when you were in the legislature, they passed a bill to expand BWI Airport.
Yeah.
And at the same time, your former colleague, he's gone, got his wings now, Delegate Emmy-Burns said, no, we want to rename the airport. And me and him had a slight disagreement. I said, Delegate Burns, I don't care if you call it KKK International. Let my people get some of that $1.8 billion in expansion of the airport. And speaking of the airport, is it true that Ricky Smith is leaving?
Who?
Ricky Smith
is leaving
the airport.
I don't know.
Look into that for me, because
I haven't been that close to that aspect. But
well, I'll tell you what, I'm hearing some questions about what's happening around the state, and my friends down in Prince George's County got some rumblings going. They got some questions about what's happening in the state of Maryland. So we want to pay attention to what's going on, because that O'Malley is a tricky one.
Look,
I remember Bob Lee Clay. Remember Robert Lee Clay?
Yes.
We ain't never forgetting Bob Clay.
Yeah, and we still say he was murdered too.
Damn right he was murdered.
Because they look, when our folks stand up, and this is the tragedy of a Marilyn Mosby, right?
It's
a tragedy.
Orange Man got 5 people killed, and they messing with this woman over her damn money.
Listen, let me tell you something. What she did, she changed the whole scenario for the entire country. Before she became the state's attorney, cops could do whatever they wanted to black people and get away with it. Now, look at Mississippi. Them 4 cops just this week gone to jail, right? One of them may get 40 years for torturing black people. We've been murdered, maimed, crippled, tortured, and brutalized by cops all my life. And for the first time in my life, Marilyn Mosby stood up and said cops will be accountable. Once she did that, you knew they were coming at her one way or the other, okay? And no matter what she did, somebody was going to try to undermine her. And then when I say undermine her, I'm not just talking about white people or other people who were opposed. I'm talking about our own people.
A black man went after her.
That's right. They will undermine her. But
a black man.
But once she started this, then, you know, they stood up for the Floyd war up there. They still started standing up for black people all over this country who was brutalized and tortured by the police. Now, if none of this happened before she became state's attorney, she was the lead, she was the spiritual leader for that movement to make police accountable. And therefore, she paid a heavy price, you know, because look at what they're getting her for, man. Bullshit, man.
There's something going on about finding out the names of the people who donated to her fund.
To the defense fund, yeah.
But they kind of put a halt on that. Is that to take attention away from the people who donated to Mayor Brandon Scott's baby fund? This is
Boy,
Be More News,
now
the
we
news
get into,
before the news, where
yeah,
we uncover the truth, because we understand a 50 fake out is going on. You remember you remember you act like you're going that way, but you're really going the other way.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah.
We
But
better pay attention, and I gotta tell you, the reason I look at the other side of the aisle is because Baltimore is 9-1 Democrat. The state of Maryland is 2-1 Democrat. How did we get more progress out of Ehrlich and Hogan
That's right. That's right.
than out of our own damn Democrats? And if I vote,
That is the big question. And the thing of it is, if you look at the dollar amounts that went to minority businesses under Ehrlich, it far exceeds anything under the Glendening or any of the Democratic administration. Bobby Ehrlich was good for economic development within the Black community.
look
And
at Coppin. Look at Coppin State.
I would venture, that's right. I would venture to say the same thing for Hogan. But now look, here's where the problem comes in. All of those people who are associated with Coppin or West Baltimore should have leaped for joy when Ehrlich decided to run. They owe Bobby Ehrlich, man. If he gonna do all of this for you, then you have a responsibility to reciprocate. But what did they do? They did not reciprocate. So why should any Republican ever do anything for Black folks?
Well, let's be honest. Bobby Ehrlich and Mike Steele split. They broke up. Mike ran for U.S. Senate, and that's a part of the lack of attractiveness when it came to Ehrlich for a recount. And O'Malley in 2002 stepped back and what was that Klanswoman name? What was that woman that ran for governor? She looked like she was a part of the KKK.
I know who you're talking about. But
KKT, that's her name. KKK, yeah. KKT. Kennedy Townsend. She went out there and told, and Malik Rahman, God rest his soul, he said, come here, Lieutenant Governor, I want to introduce you to these key Black people. She said, listen, I'm not my father, I'm not my uncle, and walked her honey away from them. Democrats.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've always been, shall we say, chumps. I won't say use the other term.
But you just said we built this country. We fought for this country. How do we be suckers on this political front?
Because we have no idea of who we really are.
And then that damn Herman Taylor, he come out, he's having MBE night. We ain't seen Herman Taylor. He over there with Francho 1 minute. Next thing I know, he's conducting the minority business enterprise like he's some damn leader. We ain't never seen him lead nothing.
No.
He's a clown. But he's up here leading the state's minority business enterprise effort. Man, go sit down.
What happens is, you know, they elevate those. To get close to the man, you got to kiss his butt. You got to get close to him. And once you get close to him, that's all you're doing anyway, is kissing his butt. Now, I refuse to be owned by them. I refuse to be owned by Black people or anybody. You know, I've always been committed to one thing, and that's the struggle of our people. And that's the liberation struggle of our people. And the first thing in liberation is you got to free the mind. You know, because it's all psychological.
That's why I think Baltimore and Prince George's County, there should be a task force. Why? Because these two jurisdictions, these two school jurisdictions are 23 and 24 at the bottom of the heap.
Yes.
And they have been. So, pardon my ignorance, but I think that should be the first thing on a Black governor's agenda.
Well, it should be. But now look, let us not put that on them. Education has always been a family and a community thing. Look, when I came
We ain't got no
along,
community. We got fentanyl.
let me finish now. All right, but then that's a problem.
Yeah, it
And
is.
that's a problem. And we have to fix the problem, but we can't just point the finger at everybody. We've got to see where the problem is, and then we've got to fix it. For instance, when I came along, I learned how to read in Sunday school, in church.
Ain't nobody in church. I was at Union
In
Baptist,
church,
25 people in there.
that's where I learned how to read.
But see, the preachers got slick and they started knocking off all the women on the front row, and men stopped going there because he's like, I ain't going there to help you take my woman.
Hey, look, well,
Some of them preachers too slick.
See, what has happened is we've gotten away from those things that enable us to become strong.
They got ATMs in the church.
I know. It's become a business now more than anything else.
And you wonder why ain't nobody in there.
Yeah. I know the story, and I often talk about that story because, see, one of the things is we're becoming too much like them.
Oh my God.
We have forgotten about who we are, how we got over. Look, man.
If I'm Jay-Z, I ain't worried about no damn Grammy Awards or whatever. I create my own damn awards with $1 billion. We created our own awards with a few dollars. Black Wall Street. Why am I care what they want to give me? They never gave Frankie Beverly and Mays their acknowledge. How you don't acknowledge Frankie Beverly and Mays? Who cares what award they get? I don't want your awards.
Well, the things that you're doing now, with that Black Wall Street and all of that stuff, man, all that stuff is so important. But, we have to go a little bit beyond that. I know we talk about Tulsa, but what about the Elaine massacre? Elaine massacre in Arkansas. ELAINE. That's supposed to be the bloodiest massacre ever. See, what happened is at the end of World War One, white folks at the end of World War One, Elaine, Arkansas. Yeah. Just put Elaine massacre in your computer, and
I'm scared to even look this up now.
Yeah, it'll pop right up. But see, these are the things that we had to endure at the end of every war, because the white people in the South knew that once we had fought for freedom and democracy, we're going to come home and demand it for ourselves, okay? One of the things I just sent out to all of our people in NABVETS was a list of Black veterans, many of whom gave their lives.
Several hundred African Americans and 5 white men were killed. September 30th, 1919.
Yeah, they had the audacity to try to organize to get a better piece of money for their labor and their work. Hey, look. See,
That's why I don't like these people. And I don't like black people that support this foolishness or block them from punishment.
All this stuff we're talking about is the reason I turned away from my desire to go to law school. Because once I started getting into this history, man, I said, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, wait a minute. And then I began to see the world through different eyes. And I could not walk away from the history that, you and I often discuss, because how can anyone purport to be a leader of the Black community and they don't even know the history?
Tell them about that black man who took over that ship out there in the middle of the water. What's his name? Washington?
Well, yeah. Well, there were several of them, okay?
On the Mississippi, I think it was. He had been taken hostage and he escaped.
You talking about Smalls?
There you go, Smalls.
Yeah, Smalls. Yeah. See, look, I'll be 82 soon, boy. Some of the stuff be slipping me, boy. But you be bringing up stuff
and the Black Pirates,
memory, boy. That's why I like talking to you. You keep me alert, boy.
How many people know that Black Caesar? He was a famous black pirate They snatched him down in Miami, but when they caught him, he had $6 million in silver. And I would venture to say he was the first black millionaire in America. Pirates. See, when we see the movies with Johnny Depp playing Pirates of the Caribbean, for some reason we don't realize we were in that movie.
Well, you
They
know,
don't
the other
show it.
thing, look, over 1/3 of the Cowboys were black. Because look, they were the only ones who would ride, behind all them shitty, stinking ass cows and stuff, man. Who the hell would want to be on a cattle drive, man? Cows shitting all over the place, horses shitting all over the place. You got to sleep out here, outdoors and stuff, man. That was work that black people did, man.
Delegate, an older black lady told me a joke yesterday. I almost fell out. She said, "What do you call a cow with no legs?" Ground beef.
Ground beef. That's all right.
You should have seen
Ground
it.
Beef.
She got me so good.
Yeah, but no matter how you look, just like for instance, I focus on reparations now, and this is where some of us, I don't talk about it a hell of a whole lot, but my view of the world is this. Our focus is wrong on reparations. We're talking about reparations for slavery. What we deserve reparations for is what happened after slavery, when we were supposed to be free, when our people went out west building all those towns out there that white people burned down because they was jealous.
Including 500 in East Texas, 500 black towns in East Texas alone. 500.
We built all them towns, man. And look, and we did it when I call them red legs and others had tried to block the Mississippi to keep us from leaving the South to go out west.
Go west, young man.
This is where the reparations supposed to come in, because the federal government were responsible at that particular point, and they did not provide that protection for us in all the territories. They stole our land, man, that all was on. Claiming
Oklahoma. That's Black Wall Street. It was Oklahoma. They had oil.
Yeah. All over the West, man. And they stole all of our land, man. And whenever we built those towns, man, they destroyed them because they was jealous at how successful we were. We were always successful because we have always been superior. The superior species in this country. I don't care whether we were slaves or whatever, we were always superior to all other groups in this country because we came here from Africa with a certain degree of intellect and ingenuity that we brought to this country and enabled this country to thrive. Okay, now whether they had us in chains or not did not matter. We were the ones who were building this country. We brought the ingenuity here, and we continue to do that. That stuff they talk about, hidden figures, like, with the three ladies and stuff. Man, that's bullshit, man. We had black folks doing this stuff all the time. One of my teachers at Dunbar, what was Dr. Russell? Dr. Russell, man, in the mid-50s used to go over to the Goddard Space Center and do all them calculations and stuff at night. Then he'd come back and talk to us about it, and algebra and pre-calculus and stuff like this, okay? He was doing this stuff all the time, but he could not get a job, full-time job over there, so he taught us in school. He was also a great engineer, a great architect. He was all of those things. My Latin teacher at Dunbar High School, right? Dr. Ford. Dr. Ford was fluent in Hebrew and Greek, okay? But
damn, I would have loved to have met him.
He taught us. He lived in the, the 17 or 1800 block of Caroline Street, because they all lived in our community too. And so we had to see them all the time. That's why you couldn't be messing up, because they were going to tell your mom and your daddy. But Dr. Ford, but you know what we used to go to him for? He taught all the Romance language, but Latin was what he taught me. We used to go to him for that pre-calculus stuff, man, because he was a genius in every goddamn thing, you know. And I sat right in the front row, man, because I wanted to soak it up. I didn't want to be in the back where there was anyone between here and now. One of my greatest math teachers was Judge Russell's sister, Helen Qualls. I loved her to death, man.
Do you remember the quadratic equation? X
absolutely. Because remember now, look, for your information, see, I started off in college as a math major. And the reason I started off as a math major was because I had a wife and 4 kids. I had to work at the steel mills, okay? So I didn't have time to study, so I had to take something that was easy, that didn't require a lot of study. And that's why I majored in math, okay? My sister was a math major and physics minor. My brother was a chemistry major and math minor. And so I started off as a math major, but then when I saw the GI Bill coming through, that's when I switched up to poli-sci, okay? Because then I could have time to read and study. But when I didn't have time to study, I majored in math, man, because I was going to teach school and then go to law school at night. Okay, but then once I switched up and I started getting into that history and the politics and then the civil rights movement and all that other stuff, hey, man, there was no way I could pursue law school. Because I came to understand that there was no such thing as law, there was only power. And that's when I helped draft the ideology of Black Power for CORE back in 1966, right here in Baltimore City, the Congress of Racial Equality. That's when we adopted the philosophy of Black Power.
Look, we gotta wrap this. We gotta wrap this up. But March 29th is Vietnam Veterans Appreciation Day. Did you know that?
Absolutely, and we're gonna celebrate it on the 7th at Martin's West, beginning at 11:30 Gilchrist. All veterans are invited.
April 7th.
On April the 7th, that's Sunday, April the 7th. That's when we're celebrating Vietnam Veterans Day, April the 7th, and it will be Gilchrist sponsoring it. 11:30. It will be a nice brunch. There will be a veterans fair, and Morgan will be in the forefront of it all. I think our keynote speaker is going to be Lieutenant General Dingle. I call him Baby General. He's the youngest of our generals, right? He only got 3 stars. But the guy that's behind it is his brother named George Rock Forrest. For your information, George Rock Forrest was in the first major battle in Vietnam called Latrine Valley, back in November of 1965, when we met the North Vietnamese head on. In less than 10 minutes, he lost 17 of his troops. He was a captain, and about 17 of his troops was killed within about the 10-minute span. I mean, that was how all hell broke loose. You'll know that movie, We Were Soldiers, with Mel Gibson. Hey, he was one of the big heroes in that, man. He got a silver star for that.
I wish they remake that movie because Mel Gibson looked like the hero in that movie.
Yeah, some of us think that he should have received the Congressional Medal of Honor for what he did at Latrine, okay?
Well, we got to get you over there with President Biden because it seems like he could use your help right now because Orange Man is hot on his heels. But Orange Man owe $500 million, and I hope they put the clamp on him, send him over there to the bookings. I got some friends over there might want to talk to him.
Yeah, get his fat ass over there.
Yeah, Putin's girlfriend. Any final thoughts, Delegate?
Well, you know, everyone should look at this mayoral election, and you've got some good choices out there, I think. Because when you look at Sheila, you know, and all of us love Sheila, all right, and I love Sheila to death. She's a very experienced lady, and she understands government. You've got a young lad there who hasn't done a bad job for a beginner. The question is, does he deserve another 4 years to continue what he has started? things seem to be changing a little bit, but is it enough change? Then you've got a young man over there, the brother named Wallace. Hey man, I kind of like listening to this brother talk. I think people need to listen to him a little bit.
And man,
And
the Goon Squad back in the day dealt with situations like this where you got a bunch of people,
mhm,
and then the Goon Squad, that's where I went to church at
yeah,
recently, Union Baptist, Vernon Dobson,
right,
they're
right.
one candidate. But we can't afford multiple candidates.
Well, it's a different day today. Back then, when you had whites was going to win if you had multiple candidates. Now it's a different scenario now. And so one of the things we need to do, because look, you don't have any whites running other than that boy Vic Naraji, or however you pronounce his name. He's an Indian, all right. But you've got 3 blacks running. And of those 3 blacks, I find this guy Wallace to be quite intriguing. I like listening to him, but I really don't think he has much of a chance.
Can he walk down North Avenue and people will blow their horns? Hey, Bob.
No.
Can he walk down Monument Street and they say, hey, Bob?
No.
Then he got some work to do. And we need you to,
Yeah.
if he's not the one, slide out the way. Because only one is going to be Brandon.
Yeah. And really it's going to boil down to Brandon and Sheila. And there's no question about the fact that, I love Sheila. But at the same time, I have to look at the young fellow and think in terms of the future, and I have to weigh all of these things. And being 80,
I tell you what, I did not like that fire boy calling that black woman a mud of a mayor. I'm not letting that go.
Who was that now?
The fire union president called Sheila a mud of a mayor.
Yeah. Look, listen, they've been getting away with murder, and they must be held accountable.
I will see him in person,
Yeah,
and I will ask him how
need
is
to be
this
held.
mud
They
of
need
a
to be
mayor,
held
mud
accountable.
of a mother.
See, they think they can get away with that kind
Oh
of
no,
thing.
he won't. He will answer.
Just like them boys down there in Mississippi. They didn't see themselves as doing anything wrong, and they was torturing and having all kinds of sexual fun with them brothers down there. Them 4 cops. They just
And these were black cops.
no, they were white cops.
These
Down
were
in
white
Mississippi.
cops.
Yeah.
Oh.
Check the papers today. That one of them will be sentenced today, probably to about 40 years.
Because there was also a situation where I think it was 4 or 5 black cops.
4 or 5 black cops. That was in Tennessee, I think it was.
Tennessee.
Yeah, I think it was either Tennessee or Kentucky. Because see, what happens is there's a culture out there, and the black cops get caught up into that culture, and they become worse than the white cops. See, one of the things when I was coming along, there was hardly any black cops, so we fought to get black cops on the force.
Speaking of for Violet Hill White, she was the first black cop in Baltimore.
Yeah,
talking about Women's History Month, Violet White.
And her name struck fear in all our hearts because you best not be no truant, and you best not mess up with them girls, because Violet White would get you, boy. But the bottom line is we fought to get blacks on the police force, then we fought to get them promoted. Once they got there, then they forgot how they got there. And they get caught up into that culture of white boy blue.
I got a pop quiz for you. Do you know who Maggie Lena Walker was?
That name is familiar. Maggie.
I'll give you a hint. Jackson Ward, Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, okay. Madam C.J. Walker?
No. Maggie Lena Walker. She was the first woman of any race to charter a bank in America.
Oh, okay.
So there were 3 Black Wall Streets, one in Oklahoma, one in Richmond, where Maggie Walker was, and then one in Durham, made famous by North Carolina Mutual.
Yeah. The one in North Carolina Mutual, that was the Spalding family. Yeah.
Oh.
Look. Yeah, the Spalding family. Look. Yeah, that was my first insurance policy with North Carolina Mutual. Because, look, we had everything they had. It's just that once things became integrated, we started favoring their things as opposed to our things. Just like, you know, when they wouldn't lend us no money. So Little Willie and them and Dr. Bryce and them put together Advanced Federal. And then this other family put together Ideal.
Right there on Druid Hill Avenue.
Yeah, yeah. And so we had to build our own institutions.
Well, we got more money than ever before, but we have less.
Right. Because of
Institutions.
what happened now, because, you know, I talked to the young lady, you know, her family owned that bank Ideal. And she said, well, you know, what's happening is that, you know, when people die, their children are coming and taking the money out of our credit union or our federal savings union, right? And savings and loan. And then they're transferring it to Maryland National and other banks that they are associated with. And so all of the money that the old people had in things like Advance or Ideal, they took the money out and put it into the white institutions. And therefore, they left all those places like Ideal without any kind of financial underpinning. Because
look, I'm watching a house across the street get renovated. It's a shell of a vacant, a shell. Right. These Latinos been going in there for 2 weeks, and they done damn near rebuilt the house.
Oh, they do.
When are we gonna get on top of our own resources in our own community? Why we keep running out there paying $300,000 for a $75,000 damn house, got a 30-year mortgage, but you could have a mansion right here in the hood. Delegate, we gotta go.
My man. All right. Thanks for the call.
Yes, sir. Up to date, down tomorrow. Do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. Make sure you vote. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. Thank you, Delegate. Good morning,
God
world.
bless.